For millions, Erik Estrada was the heartthrob cop on Chips, flashing that charming smile while racing down California highways. But the latest news about his life, decades after the fame, is turning heads for all the wrong reasons. From unexpected, personal choices to public controversies, Estrada's recent actions have left fans stunned, and divided. What really happened to the man behind the badge? This is the latest on Erik Estrada and why it's causing such a stir. Erik Estrada wasn't born into glitz, fame, or flashing lights. Born Henry Enrique Estrada on March 16, 1949, in East Harlem, New York, he grew up in the Bronx, raised by a single mother after his father abandoned the family. Life wasn't easy. His mother worked long hours just to make ends meet. Erik often spoke about how he used television as an escape, how he'd watch heroes on the screen and secretly dream of becoming one of them. It was a long shot, especially for a Puerto Rican kid from the projects in an era when Latin actors barely got noticed. But Erik had something that couldn't be ignored: relentless ambition, striking looks, and the hunger to prove himself. Before Chips, Erik struggled in the industry, taking on minor roles, doing soap operas, and playing stereotypical characters that barely had screen time. Then, in 1977, fate intervened. He was cast as Officer Frank Poncherello in Chips, an NBC show about California highway patrol officers. It wasn't expected to be a big hit, but Estrada's magnetic screen presence changed everything. Suddenly, Chips exploded in popularity, and Erik became a household name. Women swooned, and men wanted to be him. That smile, the charm, the swagger, he had it all. But what the audience didn't see was how fast fame would flip his world upside down. As Chips climbed the ratings, Erik's life transformed almost overnight. He went from struggling actor to global sex symbol. Teen magazines plastered his face everywhere, and he became one of the first Latino actors to become a mainstream television heartthrob. But fame wasn't always friendly. With success came the pressures of maintaining an image, meeting expectations, and dealing with a media circus that never slept. Erik's ego grew, and so did the demands. He became difficult on set, not maliciously, but because he knew his worth and wanted recognition. But Hollywood doesn't always reward confidence. It often punishes it. While fans saw the smiling, motorcycle-riding Ponch, behind the scenes, things were tense. Erik had a strained relationship with co-star Larry Wilcox, who played John Baker. Rumors swirled about clashing egos, unequal treatment, and creative disputes. Then, in 1979, a serious motorcycle accident during filming nearly ended his career and his life. He suffered fractured ribs, a broken wrist, and internal injuries. He was off the show for weeks, and fans feared he wouldn't return. But he did, with resilience that stunned even his critics. That crash was more than a stunt gone wrong. It was a symbol of how high and hard Erik was living, and the toll it was starting to take. Despite the behind-the-scenes drama, Erik's impact can't be overstated. In an industry that rarely gave Latin actors a fair shot, he broke barriers. He became a symbol of pride for many Latino families who saw someone that looked like them in a leading role, not as a gangster or a sidekick, but as a hero. He opened doors, whether he meant to or not, and he inspired an entire generation. His fan mail wasn't just from the US, but from across Latin America. Erik wasn't just a star, he was a trailblazer. And even though the spotlight would eventually dim, the legacy of what he achieved in those early years would never fully fade. By the early 1980s, tension behind the scenes of Chips reached a boiling point. Erik Estrada, once the show's breakout star, found himself embroiled in contract disputes with NBC. He wanted a pay raise and a share of merchandising profits, which wasn't unheard of, considering his face was plastered on everything from lunchboxes to action figures. But the network pushed back. Erik held firm, and in 1981, he went on strike. For several episodes, he was replaced by another actor. Fans were furious. Ratings dipped. Eventually, NBC caved. Erik returned to the show, but the damage was done. His relationship with producers and castmates, especially Larry Wilcox, was strained beyond repair. When Chips ended in 1983, Erik faced a harsh reality. Hollywood had moved on. Roles dried up. Offers became fewer and smaller. Estrada, once the poster boy of prime time, was now being offered typecast roles, mostly in B-movies or as one-off guest stars. It was a rude awakening for someone who once graced the cover of every major entertainment magazine. For the first time in years, Erik Estrada was no longer a hot commodity, and it stung. But instead of fading completely, Erik pivoted. The 1990s weren't exactly glamorous for Erik, but they were revealing. He reinvented himself in surprising ways. He did Spanish-language soap operas, dabbled in reality TV, and even appeared in infomercials. He leaned into his persona, embracing the nostalgia of being Ponch rather than running from it. He also found work in unexpected places, like voicing characters in animated shows and doing cameos in parodies of himself. He wasn't trying to be the next big thing anymore. He was preserving a legacy, one TV guest spot at a time. Perhaps the most unexpected chapter in Erik's story came when he became an actual police officer. That's right. In the early 2000s, Erik Estrada trained and became a reserve police officer in Muncie, Indiana. He even starred in a reality show about the experience, Armed and Famous. It wasn't a gimmick. Erik took the role seriously. He patrolled streets, made arrests, and spoke at schools about staying away from drugs. Later, he served as a deputy sheriff in Virginia and worked with Internet Crimes Against Children task forces. It was surreal. The TV cop had become a real one, and this time, there were no scripts. While Erik's public image was often one of charm and confidence, his private life wasn't always so smooth. He's been married 3 times and dealt with public criticism for everything from his acting choices to his perceived ego. At times, people dismissed him as a washed-up star clinging to past glory, but Erik never pretended to be perfect. He admitted to making mistakes, to losing touch with reality during his peak fame, and to struggling to reclaim his place in a constantly shifting Hollywood landscape. What people didn't see was the grit, the way he kept showing up, adapting, and evolving when others would have quit. While Erik Estrada often showed the world his confident, beaming smile, his personal life painted a much more complex picture. He has been married 3 times and has children from different relationships. Balancing fame with family has never been easy, especially in a world where every move is scrutinized. His son, Anthony Erik Estrada, was born in 2000 from his 3rd marriage to Nanette Merkovich. Erik has publicly expressed deep love for his children, but some have spoken about the difficulties of growing up with a father, constantly in the spotlight or out of town filming. In interviews, Erik rarely dwells on sorrow, but behind closed doors, he has faced personal grief that forever changed him. He lost close friends from the Chips era and others in the entertainment world. Some of those deaths were sudden, others came after long illnesses. Each one chipped away at the seemingly untouchable persona he had built in the 70s and 80s. In particular, the loss of his Chips stuntman and longtime friend, Paul Knuckles, reportedly shook him. Erik, known for putting on a brave face, has acknowledged how aging and loss have forced him to reflect deeply on his own mortality. Erik Estrada never stopped working, but his return to the public eye in recent years has been very intentional. From hosting true crime shows to doing appearances at nostalgic fan events and Comic-Cons, Erik reclaimed his spotlight. Unlike some stars who chase fame desperately, Erik now seems to manage it on his own terms. He speaks with pride about his Chips legacy, but also about his advocacy work, particularly against online child exploitation. In doing so, he's used his celebrity not just to entertain, but to protect. Thanks to social media and the rise of nostalgia culture, Erik Estrada has found a new generation of fans. Younger viewers, introduced to Chips through streaming platforms, now recognize him as the charming, fearless Ponch. Erik's participation in meme-worthy internet moments, retro interviews, and viral clips has introduced him to a digital audience that wasn't even born during his prime. The world may have changed, but Erik's charisma still translates. In recent years, Erik has had to confront the physical challenges of aging. He has spoken about back pain and joint issues, no surprise given the intense physicality of his early stunt work on Chips. These days, you'll often see him walking more slowly, leaning on rails, or sitting during long interviews. But what's more striking is how gracefully he's handled it. Rather than shy away from cameras, Erik continues to show up. For fans, it's both inspiring and heartbreaking to see a once indestructible star face time head-on, with a mix of pride and humility. Erik Estrada's latest chapter has nothing to do with chasing fame and everything to do with meaning. Over the past decade, he's taken on a deeply personal mission, protecting children. He became a real-life police officer in various jurisdictions, including Virginia and Indiana, working closely with Internet Crimes Against Children (ICAC) task forces. For many fans, it was jarring. The TV cop had become a real one. But Erik didn't do it for publicity. He did it because he wanted to help in the fight against online predators. That bold career shift surprised everyone and earned him widespread respect. These days, Erik leads a quieter life with his wife Nanette and their daughter. He's occasionally seen at classic car shows, church events, or fan conventions, but gone are the days of red carpets and flashbulbs. He now enjoys peaceful routines, sometimes spotted gardening, walking his dog, or smiling with fans who recognize him on the street. Erik has stated he values privacy more than ever. After decades of being on, he finally seems content being off. Despite battling health issues, Erik still radiates energy. He attributes that to faith, family, and purpose. He's spoken publicly about his belief in second chances and about how grateful he is to still have a voice. That voice is now used for advocacy, faith-based projects, and motivational speaking. His message is consistent. Stay strong, stay proud, and never forget where you came from. Many who meet him today say he's warmer, more grounded, and more spiritually centered than ever before. In recent years, social media platforms and YouTube Channels have featured retrospectives, documentaries, and interviews celebrating Erik's legacy. Comments from fans, young and old, pour in. He was my childhood hero. He made me want to become a cop, still the coolest guy alive. For someone who once worried about fading into irrelevance, this surge of admiration has been both touching and bittersweet. Erik reads those messages. And yes, he's moved by them. So what's causing such a stir now? It's not scandal or gossip, it's admiration. It's the quiet realization that Erik Estrada, after everything, never stopped being the man fans admired. He aged, he changed, he fell and got back up, but he never quit. In a world where so many stars disappear, Erik found a way to evolve. Not just as a celebrity, but as a father, a protector, and a man of purpose. That's what makes his story so powerful. It's not just a comeback, it's a complete transformation. If Erik Estrada meant something to you as a hero, a role model, or simply a favorite face from your childhood, don't scroll past, drop a comment below, and let the world know how he impacted your life. Because legends like him deserve to be remembered while they're still with us.